What's cracking, trainers? XehrFelrose here, bringing you some Pokemon GO Battle League content. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the team that I went 23-7 with in the Great League over 6 sets on Friday's stream. And honestly, I know the meta is a little bit up in the air right now because of how early in the season it is, but I think that this team is going to be a very strong contender for a top meta climbing team. It has a very strong core and a really good lead, and I went through PvPoke. I was trying to figure out a good meta team, right? Because in this day and age, the meta is so wide, it's very difficult to do. But eventually, I landed on Dusclops, non-Shadow specifically, as my lead, because what we really want in this meta to be able to core break some teams is being able to have neutral-ish play, which ghost typing is very good at doing, but having ice type damage without being an ice type. I was thinking about using Alola Ninetales at first, but unfortunately there's just so many things that have such positive play into ice types that I didn't want to put myself in that position. So landed on Dusclops, has Ice Punch for the ground types. Hex and Shadow Punch have extremely good pacing for just about everything else. And in the back, we're going to be running a strong core. I don't usually run these balanced teams. I'm usually more of an ABB person myself, where it's like, you know, Ghost Double Fairy, you know, or whatever, Double Steel, stuff like that. But I have actually settled on having the Togekiss and in Shadow Empoleon core in the back with this team, because I feel like it's one of the strongest, like just most dominant meta teams that you can have right now, at least have this core on it. Altaria could be here in place of a Togekiss. You do not need a Shadow Empoleon if you want to run this team. A regular will run just fine. You're just going to notice that you're going to take a little bit less damage, but also obviously deal a little bit less as well. Now, Dusclops is something that you can use if you want a Shadow. You do give up a couple of different matchups with it. Like I think, you know, even Stunfisk is one that you give up if you don't have the if you have a Shadow. But Dusclops overall in general, I also thought about maybe using Corsola if you want to try, if you have one, but I'll just show the team off to you. Let's get into the battles here and see how it runs. Now in this first game, we are going to be up against exactly the core breaking thing that Dusclops does not want to see, and that brings me into, yes, this team does not have a designated, really, a safe switch. We are going to be using Empoleon here as our safe switch against the Greninja because that's like the less dominant answer, technically speaking, but we're going to be able to use Empoleon's fast new pacing with Metal Sound to be able to go straight for the Hydro Cannons here before they can even get to a second Air Cutter. Now, as far as Togekiss's IVs, because you're going to look at them and see, like, what the heck are those? I've never caught a good Togekiss. I never have. I never went out and looked for one. I didn't happen to catch any when Togekiss been in events, so this is the best I have, and it's already been built, so I had to actually Elite TM Aurasphere onto it. But hey, at least we're going to be winning Charge Attack priority. We're also running Size Shock in case we do need to use Togekiss as a safe switch. It can hit back against those poison types. And then we're also going to be matched up now with a Talonflame. Like in this case, at least now my Dusclops has somewhere that it can go. Togekiss obviously doesn't have any like dominant good answers, good moves into the Greninja other than Aurasphere. It doesn't have the same, you know, fast move pressure that most fairies would, and having Charm. So Greninja can actually do well against Togekiss, and I'm kind of scared of it at this point, saving that the opponent has now saved 2 shields and they're going for a charge attack now. Maybe they knew they were going to live that. Otherwise, man, that's a risky no shield. They're just leaving 2 shields for the Greninja, and now the opponent's going to bring it in. But thankfully here, they do switch in and allow us to start getting this peck damage in. And I'm hopeful at this point that I might not get KO'd in one Hydro Cannon. I kind of have to mess around and find out. And the opponent actually baits me with a Night Slash and gets the attack boost, because why not, right? But the nice thing here is that I still have still the ability to farm down, hopefully. That's kind of what I was hoping for, right? They're not going to get to a move, but I could farm down the Talonflame if it ever came in, because it was within 1 peck's range. That's a good game. Man, I chose a bad day to try to, like, use the full speed games, but this would take forever if I didn't. It really would. My brain's struggling to keep up with these today. Anyway, we're going to try our best, though. We're going to have the Dusclops stay in here against the opponent's Giratina. We are doing super effective fast move damage to each other, but I really don't want to have to swap out of the Dusclops if I don't have to, because this team, like I said, it doesn't have a really, like... It doesn't have like a designated safe switch, right? Togekiss and Empoleon are both fairly flexible, but also in ways very inflexible. Like if you get hit with a, Empoleon gets hit with a Mud Slapper, well, you just have a bad time. If Togekiss gets hit with a, even a Bastiodon, you can still get shields, but you still have a bad time. So, right, you want to be able to make sure that you're not, accidentally dumping your backline onto something that would be very bad for it. I like Dusclops in the current meta to do very well. You'll see that in a lot of these games, and even the ones that I didn't include, include. I did grab one of my 2 9-in-1 runs with this team. I had 2 of them, and then I went 5-5 outside of that, a 3-2 and a 2-3. But all those battles were on the stream that we did over last Friday, so if you want to check that out for all the other games, if you want a visual aid on how I played the game in some cases, or played these games in some cases. So the Empoleon is very risky, because obviously Empoleon and the Togekiss is very bad for Togekiss. So I have to actually bring in my Empoleon now to try and tank a move and hope they don't swap out, which thankfully they don't. I'm throwing this Hydro Cannon immediately because I want to get rid of this thing, and I just want to see what they have in the back. The opponent has a Typhlosion in the back, and I just go straight for the Hydro Cannon here. I have to, and unfortunately the opponent also gets to a Thunder Punch and it's going to be able to take me out. So I am going to come in with my Togekiss, and I'm going to try to get to an Aura Sphere, but because they're going to be able to CMP tie me on the 5 here, I'm going to swap into Dusclops, and the opponent just happens to overfarm! And I need Togekiss to be able to win, no, not win charge, it'll never win charge tech priority. I need it to be able to live a Blast Burn, but it does not! And we get taken out. That's a good game. I was really hoping that maybe we would have lived just by like a little bit. But Togekiss really is not that bulky. Maybe a better IV one could have. I don't know. But we see another Greninja here. And I don't know where they're all coming from. But I'm safe swapping Empoleon because it worked out last time. We're going to save Togekiss with the fast move pressure. And hopefully shields. I think that's kind of one of the main things as well. Is that I'm trying to get some form of shield advantage for Togekiss in the end game when I see something like this. But the opponent deciding to let this go actually is massive. I have the option to shield and farm down here if I want to. I'm going to take that option because I would rather not show them my third, and I have quite a lot of energy available on my Empoleon, and the opponent now drops in a Talonflame. If I can live this next Incinerate, I should also be able to get another Hydro Cannon, but the opponent, unfortunately, for me, this Incinerate does a little bit too much, and the opponent's going to be able to KO in 2. They're going to go for the Flame Charge here. At least now at this point, I know they're 2 away from their next move. I can go for the Shadow Punch here, and if I can go for the next one, it should be able to fish a shield off the opponent, or I'm just going to have to try and let Togekiss win this game with a shield advantage, which now looks very possible, because we're going to be able to get this Shadow Punch off the opponent going for an extra Incinerate here. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to get to the next one in time, so it's to my benefit, though, because they actually decide to throw here, making sure they can get rid of this thing. Now I have to try and peck down with this shield that I have. And that's all I got. Whatever's in the back just has to be weak to Togekiss. That's really all I'm at right now, man. They go for the Brave Bird. The opponent's going to stay and get farmed down. We are able to get an extra couple of pecks in, and the opponent has a Credillia in the back, and we have the ability to get to 2 Aura Spheres before the opponent can get to that Rock Tomb. However, we are going to need some luck on our side because they are very likely to try and swap and catch a move, and I try and wait for it, but the opponent doesn't, so I swap into my Empoleon trying to catch their move, and we're going to be able to land this Hydro Cannon into the opponent here as they did not respond to the charge move quick enough, unfortunately for them, and then the Empoleon farms down, and we take another win against a very bad lead. All right, getting into the next battle here. We're going to have Dusclops on the lead, looking for some more good, positive, neutral play into a Scizor. This is not great, however. A Shadow Punch still does quite a bit because it's a Scizor, and because of the nice pacing on Hex to Shadow Punch, you will always get to the first move before they can out in good timing, which is really nice. I also recognize that it is Shadow Scizor, and I still, if I can get it this low, like, fast moves will be able to get this thing taken care of at some point. I'm actually going to go straight for Shadow Punch on alignment here on purpose so I can make sure I get to this before they can get either Night Slash me or maybe even Bullet Punch me down. And I see that I would have actually gone down to that next one, so I might not have even been able to get that move off otherwise. So I prefer to just go for an alignment, screw the timing at that point. The opponent, however, is not going to be able to do much with their energy into my with the Scizor, and so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to bring in the Togekiss to absorb that damage and then take them out with the Pex. The opponent is going to bring in a Shadow Charizard, and that is scary. Yes, it is. There's going to be a Hydro Cannon coming this thing's way, though, and we're going to try to take it out. I would like to get rid of this thing. I'm not going to lie. This is not something that I am comfortable with dealing with, and I'm hoping that, well, all right, so I had a decision of I'm going to just go ahead and farm up and throw as soon as I get it and hope the opponent, you know, I'm expecting them to get to the move first, right? But they throw the move right here, and I CMP them. And because we CMP tied, meaning that we both threw our charge attack at the very same time, I'm going to shield up because now I'm guaranteeing to get rid of this Charizard right now. I still have some health on my Empoleon. Hopefully it'll be able to do something with it. And I still have some health on my Togekiss. The opponent has a Shadow Marowak Marowak in the back, and for some reason, unbeknownst to me, I don't know why, I just went for Psyshock. Aura Sphere is the move to go for here, by the way, every time. Because it does more damage. It's just incredibly more efficient. Psyshock could even be Dazzling Gleam, if I'm being honest, but we're going to be able to go for the Aura Sphere and take the game, thank goodness, even though I misclicked my move. Primeape in the next game. We have really good play into this thing between this Dusclops and the Togekiss. The opponent's going to drop in their Galarian Corsola, and I'm going to say that I'm pretty sure I win this matchup. I'm going to maintain my Togekiss or make sure that I have a lot of energy available on my Empoleon to be able to take out the Primeape later in the game. The opponent here going to be trying to CMP tie the Dusclops. They do lose those, and Dusclops is going to be able to land a Shadow Punch or take a shield, and they shield this one. I'm going to shield back here. I know that I should... Oh, no, I don't. Okay, I thought about it. No, I know that I can live in Nightshade, and that's why I do that. I'm also going to bring in Empoleon here because I'm going to start the process of gathering energy, right? Even if the opponent decides that they want to bring in that Primeape again, I have a Drill Peck loaded. I can easily force the final Protect Shield and then very quickly get to another one. The opponent here is going to stay in with their Corsola, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go for the Drill Peck instead of the Hydro Cannon just because I wasn't sure if they were going to try to make a catch, and I didn't want to take the chance if they did. And so the opponent's final shield gets dropped, and they're afraid of another move, so they're going to go ahead and throw the Rage Fist here, and I'm actually going to let this go. I don't need it. My Empoleon has done its job. Togekiss now comes in on this buffed up Primeape, and I'm going to call that they don't have Ice Punch. They're on the lead. They're going to have close combat. That's just how I would expect it to be. The Rage Fist connects, does quite a bit of damage, but we are going to be able to get nearly to a farm down. I'm going to sack my Dusclops here. It has served its purpose. Togekiss needs to use this energy, because honestly, Togekiss's energy is more likely to be effective, and the opponent's got Diggersby in the back, and that is perfectly a good example of why Togekiss is just so good right now. Having this Aura Sphere, we can farm up to when they would get to the Fire Punch, and they're going to concede just as they get there, but we're going to go for the Aura Sphere, which would have done just enough to take out, and then we're going to win that game. Good game, well played. We're getting nice 4-1 in this first set. Again, we had two 4-1, 5-0 runs, two 9-1 runs, and outside of that, we went 5-5. So Dusclops hits a really nice lead here in this game, and that's an Ice Punch being able to be thrown here at the... oh my goodness, my brain just shut down and I started the whole sentence over, dude. Dusclops does well here because it has the Ice Punches, and I'm just going to keep farming and farming till the opponent throws a move, because I don't want to throw on bad timing, right? I have to throw on 5, or I have to throw on odds, basically, is my plan here. So I'm going to keep going for these Ice Punches. After the second Ice Punch lands, I believe, they're going to be very close to being in Shadow Punch range. Yes, they are. So now you can just start going for Shadow Punches if you like when you're in this matchup, and the Unova Stunfisk is now no longer a threat to your backline, and, well, at least it is... It is until it's gone, I'll say that. I think I've run into at least one or two where the opponents were catching my moves and just playing really, really well and completely caught me off guard. Now, the opponent comes in with a Fearow, and I'm actually going to swap straight into Togekiss here. Empoleon is the better answer, but I also need to remember this thing's got Drill Run, and so I need to save a shield for it if I need Empoleon for it for later. We're going to be going for the Aura Sphere here right before the opponent's able to get to their second Drill Peck, and I want to see if I can force a shield off this thing. The opponent does decide to shield. Going to go for the Aura Sphere here right before getting taken down. The opponent committing to the farm down, and they're going to have to shield again if they want to keep this energy, and they let the Fearow and all of its energy go so that they can try to save that shield for their very, very... Oh, that's a classy little Primeape. Yes, it is. In this game, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to bring in my Empoleon just to force energy off of the opponent, and I'm just going to do fast move damage here, but I call the Rage Fist, which I would never, if I were the opponent, I would always throw Rage Fist. Like, I would never throw close combat there. However, us getting that shield is all I needed, because now I can just come in with my Dusclops and be able to get to a Shadow Punch, and that should be able to take the game here. This team also does really well against fighting leads, which I've seen quite a few of, trying to counter the Empoleons, like Annihilapes and Primeapes and things of the sort. So now the opponent's going to go down to the Hex. It's going to be a good game. Well played. Next battle, we got Dusclops on the lead versus Corviknight. This is another very nice neutral thing to have. I mean, the whole team is actually quite neutral into this thing. Togekiss actually, I believe, wins this matchup, but I still kind of don't mind having it on Dusclops. I just don't like the fact that I'm probably going to have to take a payback, which kind of feels bad. That's like the one bad thing about having a Ghost on the Corviknight in this matchup is, like, if they have payback, you're just having a bad time. The opponent baits with Air Cutter and then gets the buff and swaps out. And so I would have expected them to full send the payback, and I probably will have that happen to me later in the season if I try to run this team. So, but the opponent's got a Feraligatr in the back, and they swap it in, and I'm just kind of like, what am I doing with this, right? So I'm actually going to undertap and go for the Shadow Punch here to guarantee this damage and actually see if I can't maybe swap out at this point. If the opponent decides to let that go, Togekiss can come in and get the farm down. I can shield if I need to. The opponent only going to have Air Cutter and Payback on their Corviknight, so if they bring that back in, which because I'm a fairy, I feel like they might. But instead they're going to come in with a very nicely scarved Rapidash here. And I'm kind of scared of this thing, I'm not gonna lie. But I'm also remembering that the opponent needs 3 Incinerates to get to their first move. I'm trying to remember, like, I believe it's Drill Run and Flame Charge. And we're gonna swap in to catch the move here on our Dusclops because it's very likely for them to throw after that 1 Incinerate. And they have Wild Charge. I forgot this thing got Wild Charge, I'm not gonna lie. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm going to bring in my Togekiss. I'm going to look to go for the charge move here. I was 2 away. I should always be able to go for 2 Pecks and then throw the charge move if they're staying in to throw a charge move, right? The opponent, like, as soon as I see the Incinerate, there it is. As soon as I see the Incinerate animation, I know that I can simply just swap out, or my brain's shutting down again right in the middle, man. All right, I'm going to pause this because it's distracting me and I'm trying to form a thought, okay? And thank you, by the way, for all of you who are still here and putting up with my antics. So, I was only 2 away from the move on Togekiss. I can go for 2 Pecks and get to the charge move before the full Incinerate registers and they can do anything else. So as long as I see the Incinerate animation, I know that I can go 1-2 tap the move. If I don't see the Incinerate animation, then I need to go and be ready to swap. Okay, now we've caught up. I'm here. Hello, welcome back. All right. The battles continue. We have our... I almost called it a Primate, bro. I'm so bad right now. Empoleon goes for the Hydro Cannon for the finishing blow into the Corviknight. We take the game. Well played. All right. Fixing my posture. Gonna get this back on track here. Dusclops on the lead. Once again, we see another Unova and Stunfisk. I love this lead because, again, it's not anywhere near my back line, and the opponent staying in here is so nice because what they're usually gonna have is, if I'm not mistaken, is some sort of a flying type and then something else, right? So they probably have a flying type that they don't want to take these ice punches on, and really because Dusclops is such a unique it's such a unique lead. So now going forward, if you see a Dusclops lead, you might even know this is the team. But it's very unpredictable, at least early on right now, while nobody knows what I'm running in the back, right? Because Dusclops is usually on the safe switch. So, you know, now they're going to swap into a Tyrant. And my goodness, trainer, I'm sorry this Empoleon is about to cause you absolute miserable pain, but I respect the hell out of this pick. And I don't know, man. I've always loved these, like, glassy dragons that, like, can just come in and do decently because they have good moves. Like, Tyrant and Tyrantrum are incredibly cool, but because they're so glassy in general and they don't do well into the meta, they don't get used very often. I just love seeing stuff like this. The opponent running Stomp. It's 3 Dragon Tails to a Stomp, by the way. And because of that, I know I can go for my 5 Metal Sounds and get that farm down because it usually means that I should be able to get the farm down unless the damage registers incorrectly and they get the charge move. If they don't, then that's good. We're good. If you understand how damage and turns work, you probably are laughing at me because I'm stammering while I'm explaining it. But for those of you who don't know, essentially, when you have a charge move that, like, let's say, for example, charge move is thrown on turn 14, right? It takes 1 turn for it to activate. And so when your opponent has, for example, a 2-turn move and they throw, and they, like, well, not a 2-turn move in this phase. So they have... They're distracting me. I want to get this thought through because this is actually useful information, and I think this is more useful than me talking through a Tyrantrum matchup, okay? So if you have a 2-turn move and you throw 7, right, in your turn 14 when you throw your charge move, if the opponent's got a 3-turn move, like Dragon Tail, etc., and if they were to KO you just as you get that charge move loaded, because it takes 1 turn to load your charge move, you're technically taking the damage as well from the fast move the turn before it finishes. That's how all that's supposed to work. So the damage will register on turn 14, therefore negating your charge move entirely. But if the damage does not register, which once in a while it does not do correctly, then you get what's known as DRE, or damage registration error, and that will actually allow the person who threw the charge move to get it even though they're not supposed to. So that's at least the game mechanics, the way are currently set up, are not supposed to do that, but at some point they may fix it. They mostly fix 1-turn lag, and they can have my I will give them all of the credit and the applause and the thanks for fixing that issue for the most part. I know it exists in some small degree, but it's not nearly as bad as it used to be from what I understand. Dusclops against the Magcargo, again, neutral as can be, and I'm not going to shield a Rock Tomb here. I want to get this thing as low as I possibly can. After playing this matchup a few times, I do also know now from that experience that when this matchup with the Dusclops is finished, you playing out the zero shields with this thing, if you throw this Shadow Punch here right before they get to this next Incinerate, this exact moment, you leave this within Metal Sound down range for the Empoleon, because they'll throw right away right here. That's pretty much how every single Magcargo lead I've seen pans out. So we let this go. Empoleon comes in, and it's able to get a full farm down here before the opponent can land that second Incinerate, and then they're going to have a Furret in the back, and they get, dude, Empoleon up energy is nuts, okay? This thing is just absolutely obscene, okay? And this is Shadow Empoleon. Obviously, if you have the regular, I mean, like, the regular still needs 2 moves to 2-shot. Like, anything that Shadow Empoleon can't straight 1-shot because of the Shadow status, like, most of it's going to be 2-shotting anyway. So, like, a normal probably is fine, but we're going to have the Togekiss swap in here now, trying to catch a Trailblaze. The opponent and says, no, you're going to catch this Night Slash instead, buddy. Swift. It wasn't a Scizor. It was a Furret. Oh, my goodness. The brain just went halfway around the video. Now we're back in the Scizor matchup from like 3-4 games ago, bro. Oh, I don't have my meds in me today, trainers. You can tell. Aerial Ace is going to be doing a lot of damage here, but the Fury Cutters are double resisted, meaning they're only doing 1 damage, and we are going to be able to get to the Psyshock here. I don't know if we lived that, or if that was just a case of that DRE I talked about earlier, but either way, I'm thankful to get the move off, meaning I can go in straight for the Hydro Cannon, take out the Gligar before I can get to a move, and for it, going to get Metal Sounded down at this point. Good game to the opponent. Next game, we're going to have our Dusclops against Talonflame, and we're going to be playing this out similar to the Magcargo, honestly. We're no shielding pretty much anything here at this point, just going for the Shadow Punches when we can. And so we're going to be able to land that first one here, and then the opponent's likely to go for a move at this point. They have the energy for a move and then some, and so they're going to throw it. Sometimes they go for... They usually don't go for Brave Bird off the bat, but in case they do, if they're on their 3rd Incinerate at that point, you can just go 1, 2, 3 Shadow Punch. They're never to move until at that point, and if they even stay in that long, because they probably won't after debuffing themselves. But when I just can't. A lot of weird noises, bro. Sometimes I gotta feel like I gotta edit these. I'll do these in one take, and I appreciate you guys who are here this long. You're here because you expect this weirdness, so thank you. But. I shielded that specifically because I knew that I could not leave that Talonflame at that range of HP. It just wouldn't be farmable by anything without having to spend that shield. So I prefer to save the energy on my Dusclops in case I can find a way to use it. The opponent, however, brings in the Credilli, and I actually did that to see if I would be able to live a Rock Tomb, which I also found out that I will not. I'm trying to call a Fire Punch bait here, and we do successfully get the Fire Punch bait, which puts us in a hugely successful place. I'm like advantageous. It's successfully and advantageous don't go together. A very advantageous situation here, where since calling that bait, we can now unleash a bunch of Hydro Cannons on the opponent's team here, and our Credilli, or their Credilli, is always going to be able to KO with this next move no matter what it is. I'm expecting it to be the Rock Tomb, and so we're going to be going for the Hydro Cannon here. I'm confident this is enough, right? Like, in this moment, I'm like, there's no way that's not enough, and of course it is. But because we're not within the range for the Bullet Seed, we're going to be able to take them out with the Metal Sounds and take the game. Well played. Very, very dominant run by this team. The team comps that I faced, generally speaking, were not prepared for this type of team. I gotta be honest. And I've seen a lot of weird teams, but none of them really seem to be prepared for a Dusclops lead, which really set up this back line of Togekiss and Empoleon to go off. Let me know in the comments if you were able to even get... Dude, my brain was like half off during this one. I don't know what happened, but... Thank you for all of you who stuck with me. And you're watching this far, you probably expect these antics by now. My brain just shuts down in the middle of a video, and I've probably tried this video like... I just couldn't get the intro right, and I kept rolling it. It's probably like my 17th time, man. But thank you guys for watching, as always. I appreciate it. If you guys want to support the channel, there's ways to do so down in the comments. Going a member of Patreon, YouTube, and we also do stuff through Medify for coaching and whatnot. Just going to throw that out there real quick in case you're still here. Thank you, as always. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.